At first, it looks like just another wreck, an old car left to rust at the bottom of a lake. But then, you notice the details. The windows are intact. The doors are locked. The keys? Still in the ignition. It looks like someone parked it here on purpose, but no one ever came back for it. And this isn't an isolated case. All over the world, cars are being found underwater, completely by accident. A fisherman casts his net and snags a metal frame. A group of kids skips rocks and one hits something solid just beneath the surface. A drought drains a lake, revealing a rusted-out vehicle that no one even knew was missing. Some of these cars are linked to stolen vehicle rings, others to cold cases that sat unsolved for decades. But the strangest ones? The ones where the driver vanished without a trace, no crash reports, no missing persons, just an empty car, hidden beneath the water, waiting to be found. Who left them there? Why were they never reported? And how many more are still out there, just waiting to be discovered? Stay with us as we uncover the chilling secrets hidden beneath the surface. Lamborghini doesn't just disappear. It's not the kind of car you forget about, and it's definitely not something you expect to find at the bottom of a river. But that's exactly what happened in 2019, when a group of divers exploring a lake in Austria stumbled upon a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo, completely submerged, perfectly intact, and with no record of it ever being reported stolen or lost. The discovery made headlines. A car worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, sitting underwater with no apparent reason why. No crash reports, no missing driver, no signs of forced entry, just a luxury supercar resting on the lakebed, hidden from the world. When authorities pulled it out, they expected answers. Instead, they found more questions. The interior was untouched. No signs of a break-in, no shattered glass. The keys were gone, but there was no sign that the ignition had been tampered with. And strangely, the car had been there for years, without a single person reporting it missing. That's when the theory started. Some believed it was an insurance fraud scheme, someone dumping the car to collect a payout. But if that were the case, why wasn't there a claim? The car had never been flagged as stolen. Others suggested it was part of a criminal cover-up, that the car had been used for something illegal and then hidden underwater to erase all evidence. But even that theory had holes. If it was meant to be hidden, why not strip it for parts first? Why leave it completely intact? Then came the strangest possibility, one that authorities couldn't ignore. What if the driver had gone into the water with the car, but never made it out? Divers searched the area for human remains. Nothing. No reports of missing persons matching the car. No signs that anyone had been inside when it sank. Just an abandoned supercar sitting beneath the surface as if it had been placed there on purpose. To this day, no one knows the truth. No driver ever came forward. No insurance claims were filed. The Lamborghini was pulled from the lake, cleaned up, and stored as evidence. But with no crime attached to it, it remains one of the most bizarre automotive mysteries ever discovered. And it's not the only one, because in the world of sunken cars, some discoveries don't just raise questions, they rewrite history. Coming up next, the case of a missing mobster, a bullet-riddled car, and the lake that kept its secret for over half a century. It was a rainy night in December 2009 when multiple 911 calls came in from a quiet stretch of road in South Carolina. Drivers claimed they saw a car lose control on a sharp turn, skid across the pavement, and plunge straight into the river below. Several witnesses described the same thing. Bright headlights cutting through the fog, the splash of water as the vehicle sank, and then silence. Emergency crews arrived within minutes. They expected to see a car partially submerged, maybe even a driver trapped inside. But when they reached the riverbank, there was nothing. No floating debris, no tire marks leading into the water, just the river still and undisturbed, as if nothing had happened. Diving teams were called in. They scanned the entire river, searching for any sign of a sunken vehicle. Hours passed, then days, and still, no car, no wreckage, no evidence that anything had ever been there. But the witnesses were certain of what they saw. They weren't just passing drivers, They were locals who knew the road well. Some even stopped their cars and got out, watching as the headlights disappeared beneath the surface. So where did the car go? Theories spread quickly. Some believed it was a case of mass misperception, that the heavy rain and fog made it look like a car had crashed when, in reality, nothing was there. Others suggested it could have been a stolen vehicle, dumped intentionally into the river and somehow swept away before police arrived. But that didn't explain one thing. How did so many people describe the exact same crash in detail? The strangest part? It wasn't the first time. Locals in the area claim that for years, on foggy nights, people had reported seeing headlights veering off the road near that same river bend, only for no vehicle to ever be found. Some called it a ghost car, a vision of a wreck from the past, replaying itself over and over again. Others believed there was a hidden underwater current, one strong enough to sweep a car away without a trace. But if that were true, why hasn't a single piece of evidence ever surfaced? No twisted metal, no shattered glass, no human remains. Just stories. Stories of a car that crashed, a river that swallowed it whole, and a mystery that refuses to be solved. And as strange as this case is, it's nothing compared to what's next. Because sometimes the cars that vanish aren't just accidents. They're tied to people who were never supposed to be found. For every car found at the bottom of a lake, there's a story behind it. Some have clear explanations: accidents, stolen vehicles, even reckless joyrides gone wrong. But then there are the others, the ones that don't make sense, the ones that seem too deliberate, too clean, too perfectly hidden. And when investigators start digging, they usually find that these submerged cars weren't meant to be found at all. Crime cover-ups. It's no secret that bodies and cars go missing together. Across the world, lakes and rivers have become unofficial graveyards for people who were never supposed to be found. Some of the most notorious disappearances in history were only solved because a car was discovered underwater. Doors locked, keys inside, and sometimes something far worse still in the driver's seat. In 2005, a fisherman in Florida was casting his line when he noticed something strange just below the surface. It was the roof of a car. When police pulled it out, they found the skeletal remains of a man inside, later identified as a local who had been missing for over a decade. His case had long gone cold until his car gave up its secret. And then there's the darker side, cases where the car was found, but the driver was never meant to leave the water alive. Criminal organizations, gangsters, even corrupt individuals have used lakes as a way to make people disappear permanently. Some of these cars sit undisturbed for years, their secrets locked away beneath the surface, only to be uncovered by accident decades later. Not all sunken cars are tied to crime, at least not violent crime. Some are just about money. Luxury cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, even entire fleets of high-end vehicles have been found in lakes and oceans with one thing in common: a missing insurance payout. It's an old trick. A car owner wants to get rid of their vehicle and cash in on the insurance, so they lose the car somewhere it can't be recovered. A lake, a river, the open sea. The idea is simple. If the car is never found, it's a total loss claim, a clean, easy payday. But sometimes things don't go according to plan. In 2018, a brand new Rolls-Royce Phantom was discovered sitting at the bottom of a bay in Canada. The owner had reported it stolen a year earlier and collected a hefty insurance payout. But when divers found it and authorities ran the plates, the truth unraveled. The so-called theft had been staged and the owner was arrested for fraud. It's a pattern investigators see all the time. Cars that were never actually stolen, owners who never expected them to be found, and financial records that don't quite add up once the wreck is pulled back to the surface. Then there are the cars that seem to exist only in stories. Cars that people claim to have seen crash into the water, but no wreckage is ever found. These tales exist all over the world. A bridge where a speeding car is seen veering off the edge, only for the river below to reveal nothing. A coastal road where locals swear they see a car's taillights disappear into the ocean on stormy nights. Drivers who swear they hit a drowning victim in a flooded road, only for the body to vanish completely. Skeptics argue that these are just tricks of the mind, optical illusions, shadows that play tricks on tired drivers. But others aren't so sure. Some believe that the reason these cars are never found is because they were never meant to be found. That some accidents aren't accidents at all, but something else, something beyond explanation. And that brings us to the most unsettling idea of all. What if some of these sunken cars are more than just missing vehicles? What if they're haunted? It sounds like something out of a ghost story, but some investigators take these reports seriously. There have been cases where a car was discovered, only for people involved in the recovery to experience strange and unexplained phenomena afterward. Divers reporting whispers in the water, mechanics saying the car's radio turns on by itself, playing old broadcasts from decades ago. Some even claim that recovered cars have been seen driving down the road, long after they should have been destroyed. Of course, us skeptics dismiss these as myths, but here's the real question. If even one of these stories is true, if even one of these cars is more than just a wreck, then what does that mean for the rest? Because whether it's crime, fraud, or something far beyond our understanding, the fact remains, there are cars out there, deep underwater, still waiting to be found, and not all of them are empty. But what if we told you that some of the most chilling discoveries weren't found in lakes or rivers? Not every missing car comes with a missing person, and not every missing person comes with a missing car. But sometimes the two collide in a way that defies all logic. This case begins in 1997, when a fisherman in Oklahoma spotted something unusual beneath the murky waters of Foss Lake. He thought it was just debris, maybe an old boat, maybe some scrap metal. But as he looked closer, he saw something chilling. A car, an old Chevrolet, its frame barely visible through the silt and darkness. Authorities arrived quickly, expecting to find an accident victim inside. What they found instead made no sense. The car was still locked, the keys were still in the ignition, the seatbelt buckled, but the driver? Gone. No broken windows, no forced doors, no sign that anyone had escaped. It was as if the driver had been sitting there, seatbelt fastened, hands on the wheel, and then simply vanished. Investigators ran the plates. The car belonged to a man who had disappeared nearly 2 decades earlier, a 26-year-old named Jimmy Simmons. He had been last seen driving home from work one night in 1978, but he never made it. His family reported him missing. His face was printed on flyers. His case remained open for years, but no one knew what had happened to him until now. At first, authorities thought the answer was simple. Jimmy had crashed into the lake and drowned. But if that were true, why wasn't he in the car? Why was the seatbelt still fastened? Why were there no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away from the shore? And why had the car remained hidden for so long in a lake that had been searched before? Even stranger, the car showed no signs of a high-speed impact. The windshield was intact. The front bumper wasn't even dented. It was almost as if the car had been gently placed into the water rather than crashing in. Forensic teams scoured the vehicle for DNA, fingerprints, anything that could explain what had happened. But they found nothing. No blood, no human remains, no evidence of foul play. Just an empty car sitting at the bottom of a lake, waiting for someone to find it. So what really happened to Jimmy Simmons? Did he escape the sinking car and disappear into the night? If so, why did he never contact his family? Did someone else put the car there to cover up a crime? Or is there another explanation, one that we may never fully understand? To this day, no one knows the truth. All that remains is an abandoned car, a missing driver, and a mystery that refuses to die. But what if this isn't just one strange case? What if there are more? And what if some of these vehicles hold secrets even darker than we can imagine? From cars found decades after vanishing without a trace, to luxury vehicles sinking without explanation, to a missing driver whose seatbelt was still buckled, each of these discoveries raises more questions than answers. Were they just accidents? A series of unfortunate events? Or are some of these cases hiding something far more sinister? One thing is certain, water has a way of keeping secrets, and for every car we've pulled from the depths, there are likely hundreds more still waiting to be found. each with a story we may never fully understand. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe these are just coincidences, or is there something bigger at play? Were these disappearances planned, covered up, or even supernatural? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read everyone. And if you love uncovering eerie mysteries like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got even more chilling discoveries coming soon. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.